In the years since they first hit the market, Tesla has grown to become the world's premier EV brand and has done more than anyone to popularize the idea of electric vehicles to the mainstream. Here in North America, Tesla reigns supreme, and there are no other automakers that have achieved as much success with electric vehicles as they have. Around the globe, however, that story is starting to change. While Tesla is still wildly successful across the world, competition from China is heating up and threatens Tesla's EV dominance. These Chinese automakers have been rocking headlines for a while now, and some have even claimed that they pose an existential threat not just to Tesla, but to the whole US auto market. The largest of those competitors is BYD, an automaker that Tesla has been neck and neck with for a bit now to hold the title of world's largest EV manufacturer. Today we're going to take a look at this company that has taken the world by storm and discuss just how much of a threat to Tesla they really are. So let's get into it, and a special thanks to Ridge for sponsoring a portion of this video. Before we get into BYD's battle with Tesla, let's take a minute to explore the history of the company itself and how they got to where they are now. Before getting into cars, BYD started as a battery manufacturer in the mid-90s, where they initially produced batteries for things like cell phones. They had a lot of success with that, which prompted the company to buy a small auto manufacturer in 2003 and enter the car market. They received a big $230 million investment from Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, which allowed them to make their first plug-in hybrid in 2008. After several years of success with their HEV and ICE vehicles, in 2020 they launched their Blade battery system, an LFP battery that offered high energy density for a low price. That battery debuted in their Han sedan and has since appeared in many of their electric models. For a while now, Chinese automakers like BYD weren't really seen as much of a threat by the Western auto market at large. In fact, in 2011, Elon Musk had this to say about the company that would one day become their greatest competition. Quote, "Have you seen their car? I don't think it's particularly attractive. The technology is not very strong. And BYD as a company has pretty severe problems in their home turf in China. I think their focus is, and rightly should be, on making sure they don't die in China." A lot has changed since then, as BYD had very quickly turned from an international black sheep into a seemingly unstoppable force in the EV market. In 2020, the year that they launched their first electric vehicle, they delivered 130,970 units. By the end of 2023, they had sold 1.57 million electric cars. For years, Tesla has led the world in EV sales, but then in Q4 of 2023, BYD seemingly came out of nowhere and did what seemed impossible: they overtook Tesla. In this quarter, BYD sold 530,000 units compared to Tesla's 485,000. This was a huge wake-up call as to just how serious the competition from China had been stepping up to be. While Q1 of this year was a bit rough on both companies, Tesla held on a bit stronger of the two. Tesla's sales fell by a pretty big 20%, down to 386,810 units, while BYD's fell by an even bigger 43%, down to 300,114. So while Tesla has taken the lead once again, I wouldn't bet on this lasting too long before it shifts back in the other direction, mainly because BYD has affordable options. BYD is currently the largest automaker in China, and as such, a lot of their sales happen within that country, but they are rapidly expanding across the globe. BYD has been steadily increasing their available vehicle lineup all across the world and is working to increase their output in other markets. They are midway through constructing an EV factory in Hungary to serve the European market and are exploring their options for a Mexican factory to supply the Americas. Although BYD's electric options are still relatively new to the European market, they are already making huge waves there. They are currently planning to more than triple their market share in the continent, up to 5% by sometime in 2025, before their Hungary factory is even online. With the help of that factory, BYD has lofty ambitions of overtaking Tesla in the European market by sometime in 2030. While Tesla's most productive factory is based in China, the company has had a harder time competing there as of late compared to the myriad of local options, like those offered by BYD. If BYD can successfully hold on to their home turf while also capturing the largest share of the European market, then that could spell major trouble not just for Tesla, but the Western EV market as a whole. So while Tesla is obviously known for their best-in-class electric vehicles, what makes BYD so different that has fueled their meteoric rise to the top? Above all else, BYD has been able to offer compelling electric vehicles that come in well below the prices on any of the competition. Seemingly no matter what vehicle that the competition offers, BYD has been able to offer an alternative that severely undercuts them. The first fully electric car that BYD produced was the Han, a mid-sized luxury SUV meant to occupy the same market niche as vehicles like the Tesla Model S, Audi A6, and BMW i5. The Han doesn't reach the same performance marks as cars like the Model S, whose base trim can output 670 horsepower and a 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds, but it still packs a lot of value into this car. The base trim Model S, with a range of 402 miles EPA, starts at $72,990, and then it's an additional $15,000 for the Plaid Performance package. The Han vehicle, by comparison, can travel up to 376 miles on a single charge, but that is with the less accurate NEDC cycle. It can get 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds, and costs between an equivalent of $32,800 and $40,000 in China. That range estimate is a bit higher than you would likely see in the real world, and prices are higher in the European markets in which it's sold, but those prices still come in several $1,000s cheaper than the competition. You might think that this car must make some pretty significant trade-offs in quality to hit that price point, but in all honesty, what's there is pretty impressive. Doug DeMuro did a full review of the 2023 Han, and as we can see, it offers some pretty impressive interior quality and a bunch of other cool features like a rotatable center screen, an air purification system, and 2 rear screens that can control all the car's major functions. This car has a few cut corners, but overall it's a lot closer in quality than many would expect. BYD also offers their Seal electric vehicle, a sedan that is meant to directly compete against cars like the Tesla Model 3. It has a very similar size to the Model 3 and a few different performance options, but the base trim has up to 354 miles of WLTP range and a 0 to 60 in 5.9 seconds. When we factor in that WLTP range is often a bit more lenient than EPA range estimates, then this puts it pretty squarely in line with the performance of a Model 3. BYD also offers a more performance-centered variant that takes a small hit to range while bringing the 0 to 60 down to just 3.8 seconds. The Seal has been frequently commended for its high-quality interior that prominently features a center touchscreen, but has a lot of physical knobs and features for those who don't like a completely digital interface. This car also has built-in Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, 2 systems that are purposely missing in Teslas. While of course this car is cheaper in China, in Europe it costs around 45,000 euros, which is actually slightly more expensive than the rear-wheel drive Model 3, but less than the long-range version. Ultimately, this car offers a really comfortable ride with a quality interior and a really competitive performance-to-price ratio. Next, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Ridge. Ridge is on a mission to improve all the items you depend on every day, like your wallet and keys. They make innovative and functional products like this ultra-compact Ridge wallet and jingle-free key case. I particularly love the slim design of this key case. It can hold up to 6 keys and fits in my pocket with my phone. I don't have to worry about those keys scratching anything, and they don't make any noise. Then the Ridge wallet also fits easily in your front pockets, can hold up to 12 cards, and still has room to store your cash. It's customizable, RFID protected, and made with quality materials like titanium, aluminum, carbon fiber, and leather. It comes in over 50 styles, including NFL prints that are included in their Father's Day sale. Ridge is making gift giving easier than ever with huge discounts of up to 40% across their website right now. It's the perfect gift for your dad, spouse, brother, or even yourself. They also make rings, coin trays, travel bags, and a ton of other high-quality products. Ridge has over 100,000 5-star reviews and a lifetime warranty. To shop Ridge and get up to 40% off, click my unique link in the description below. In the SUV segment, BYD offers even more options that have managed to make waves across the entire EV market. The Tang is their most luxurious SUV, meant to compete most directly with cars like the Model X and Y. It has a 7-seat, fully leather interior with plenty of storage for a large family. Earlier this year, the Tang received a pretty substantial upgrade to its battery components and charging speed. Up from 86 to 108 kilowatt hours, this SUV can now travel up to 329 miles WLTP on a single charge. The dual motor configuration can get up to 60 in just 4.9 seconds. That doesn't quite match up with the X's level of performance, but it is a reasonable competitor when you consider that in Europe it comes in at 69,990 euros compared to the X's starting price of 99,990. The Auto 3 is their mid-level SUV, meant to take on Tesla's best-selling vehicle, the Model Y. The base model is only rated for around 260 miles of WLTP range, which in the real world would likely be somewhere closer to 210 miles. It has that same rotating screen that we see on all of BYD's products, as well as a dashboard full of physical buttons for those who like a more tactile experience while controlling their car. Like the Model Y, the Auto 3 has received a perfect 5-star rating on the Euro NCAP safety tests. This car is very solid, and while it doesn't reinvent the proverbial wheel, it is able to deliver a similar level of comfort and usability to the Model Y at a lower price in certain markets. Like Tesla, this car's price has fluctuated a lot over the years, with the average price sitting between 38 and 40,000 euros, compared to the Model Y, which commonly starts at about 44,990 euros in most countries. If you want something a bit more stripped back, then BYD offers their Dolphin compact hatchback, a product category that Tesla does not have a vehicle in, but is meant to compete with cars like the VW ID.3 and other smaller options. It has a few different trim options that can net you a range somewhere between 211 and 265 miles on a charge. For a compact car, it has a surprisingly large seating area, and that range should be more than enough for most commuters and for even some slightly longer trips. The real appeal of the Dolphin, though, is its price. The base trim cuts out a lot of nicer features like heated seats and wireless phone chargers, but it comes in at an extremely competitive price of €29,990. It costs extra for added features like a panoramic glass roof, more powerful motors, or a longer range, but even with those additions, this car easily beats a lot of EV competition. While BYD has managed to make an impressive lineup of cars that can compete against many of their rivals, they do have one vehicle that has managed to do something almost no other brand has done: be truly affordable. The Seagull, or Dolphin Mini in some markets, is their fully electric compact city car that has Western automakers scared because of its price tag, coming in between $10,000 to $12,000 in China. Western automakers have been slow to get a truly affordable vehicle to market so far, with Tesla delaying their affordable model to prioritize their autonomous robotaxi instead. Most electric vehicles available outside of China have thus far been focused on more premium or luxury markets. While the intention there was to eventually use that accumulated capital and EV manufacturing expertise to make those affordable models, almost nobody has really made that full jump yet. The Seagull can theoretically travel up to 252 miles on a single charge, although the real range will likely be lower, and it uses a simplified design and cheap LFP battery systems to keep costs down. It's not a luxurious vehicle by any means, but industry experts have still been very impressed by its quality for the price, and this car would undoubtedly work very well for a lot of commuters. As well as China, this car is for sale in both Brazil and Mexico, where it comes in at around $20,000 in both countries. This car is currently expected to hit the European market sometime next year, and its looming arrival has a lot of automakers scared. A former GM executive has said of the Seagull, quote, "What they do is done very well," and Ford CEO Jim Farley has also complimented the vehicle. While the price will undoubtedly be higher than $10,000 in these upcoming markets, it will surely still cost less than most of the competition. While most reviewers would agree that many of BYD's vehicles don't do anything groundbreaking or class-leading, they are able to sell solid cars at really insane prices, which is pretty unheard of for electric vehicles at this point. As it stands right now, no other automakers have been confident that they can compete with the vehicles BYD is offering, and that could be an existential problem for them. Shortly after Tesla was first unseated from their top spot, Elon Musk said that, quote, "Frankly, I think if there are not trade barriers established, they will pretty much demolish most other automakers in the world." That's pretty concerning for many, and it naturally has a lot of other automakers worried too, even the companies who haven't made EVs a priority yet. No matter what car a company sells, an extremely affordable electric option is just going to be hard to beat on a mass scale. BYD has worked very hard to simplify their designs and manufacturing costs in order to make these cars as cheaply as possible while not sacrificing quality too much. Labor costs are often much lower in China, but BYD also has a major advantage when it comes to making the most expensive part of an electric vehicle, the battery. As I mentioned before, BYD got their start as a battery manufacturer, so they have plenty of experience and expertise in building those batteries. The company is also extremely vertically integrated, which allows them to design and build the components of their cars in-house and for comparatively low cost. Every element of their cars are designed to be as cost-effective as possible, such as the Seagull only having, quote, one windshield wiper, eliminating one motor and one arm, saving on weight, cost, and labor to install. BYD isn't just in the business of cost-cutting, they are also actively working on improving the underlying tech in their vehicles, much like we see from Tesla. Last year, NVIDIA had announced a partnership with the automaker to further integrate their NVIDIA Drive technology into BYD vehicles. NVIDIA is at the cutting edge of computer hardware technology, so their hardware could do a lot to improve the software functionality in these vehicles. Software-based design is one of the key features of Tesla's vehicles, and it seems like BYD is following that same path. A lot of BYD's critics have been quick to judge the company for their use of heavy subsidies from the Chinese government to artificially lower the cost of their vehicles. The Chinese government has been investing heavily into new green products and infrastructure, with electric vehicles being a particularly subsidized industry there. Since they started making electric vehicles, BYD has received around $3.7 billion in direct subsidies from the Chinese government until that program stopped in 2022. The government paid out between $1,380 and $2,400 for every electric vehicle produced in the country between 2010 and 2022, which in BYD's case also likely includes a number of their hybrid vehicles. The Chinese government also participates in a lot of material subsidies and other trade tactics to reduce costs that are a bit more intangible to calculate. What's especially interesting, though, is what EV manufacturer received the second highest number of subsidies from China during the same period. In 2022, Tesla received $426 million from China, a figure directly tied to the number of cars they produced from their Shanghai factory. In the US, Tesla has also received a lot of government subsidies, especially early on, that definitely contributed to their success. One could argue that the $7,500 federal tax credit, now being applied at the point of sale, is very much a more impactful subsidy than we're seeing over in China. That also doesn't include the many incentives that are given out by states and cities across the US to go electric. So while BYD has undoubtedly been helped along by the Chinese government, it's important to recognize that so have many Western automakers like Tesla, or anyone making EVs really. The pleas of automakers across the West have so far been received very sympathetically by government officials. Within the last few weeks, the US government announced some sweeping new tariffs on imported Chinese green technology. Under previous guidelines, Chinese electric vehicles were marked up in price by a 25% tariff, but now that has quadrupled up to over 100%. There are a lot of other products targeted by these tariffs, from semiconductors down to rubber gloves, but the large amount that EVs were singled out really goes to show just how much these cheap cars have local production scared. The US has been focusing very heavily on promoting domestic EV production, with eligibility for the EV tax credit being tied heavily into where companies source the materials and produce their vehicles. As for that planned BYD factory in Mexico, the government is also considering additional penalties for importing Chinese cars produced in Mexico, so that loophole may be closing somewhat soon. The EU is currently conducting a study on the impact of these cheap Chinese cars on local markets, so they too might be increasing tariffs very soon. Ultimately, the whole issue of imported Chinese EVs is a very tricky one to navigate, and BYD is definitely at the center of it right now. Ultimately, the success of BYD and other Chinese automakers points to a significant gap in the market. BYD is proving so successful because they are selling solidly built, affordable electric vehicles. Truly affordable vehicles are a market segment that most Western automakers have been slow to address or otherwise outright neglecting. We're even somewhat potentially seeing it from Tesla right now with their focus on a robotaxi instead, and that could be a sign of what's coming in the future. If Tesla is correct there, then it may be a total shift into self-driving robotaxis, away from even needing to make affordable drivable vehicles. But in the meantime, we do need those cars, and they are being made by people like BYD. Chevy stopped production of their best-selling Bolt EV last year, Ford is working on an affordable model that could be years away, and as I mentioned, Tesla's plans for an affordable model seem to be on hold, with the robotaxi being a priority. If Western automakers could successfully build and launch a truly affordable electric model, a car that can sacrifice some of the extra bells and whistles in favor of reliability, then these car companies could probably rest easier from the looming threat of companies like BYD. It's definitely interesting to see that Tesla is a US-based company, but their main competition is not at all in the US right now. I hope this video was an interesting dive into BYD and everything they're doing, and in the meantime, if you want to see the latest Tesla news, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.